Lights, camera, action. Okay, so guys, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, welcome to TAP, also known as the Alphabet Podcast. Now, guys, I'm so excited for today. I've got two very special guests that I've got their own take on this subject, and the subject is code switching. So you may or may not have heard that term, you may be aware of it, but by the end of this podcast, you'll know what code switching is and you'll understand that we all code switch, but literally some of us code switch more than others. And for some people, it's literally code switching for survival. So with little further ado, I'm just going to introduce my guests. So ladies first, it's always ladies first on this podcast. We stick to the traditions. So nothing nasty. So Jay, you'd like to introduce yourself to the podcast?
My name's Jay. Can I say I'm a social worker by trade, so I'm a qualified social worker. I work with young people. I'm really passionate about children's voice and just advocating for them. And so yeah,
Brilliant, nice and succinct. So we have some shared commonalities. We both shared that same passion for young people, and this particular young man, this remarkable young man here, I'll allow him to introduce himself, but age is not an indicator of inspiration. This young man inspires many other young people and many older people like myself. So without further ado, Perry, would you like to introduce yourself to the podcast and tell them what you do?
Okay then. So my name is Perry Blake. I am the founder of the 21 Up movement, which is a youth intervention program. I started it to create opportunities for young people and offer support and guidance to help young people, to help create a belief system within young people that enables them to work towards and believe in reaching their true potential. Amazing. The reason I wanted to start it because I felt that young people they were just turning on each other due to lack of knowledge, due to lack of guidance, due to lack of understanding of their own emotions. I feel like they're all I think they're a very confused generation. I feel like COVID had a massive setback on the development of young people, and I don't feel us as an older generation understand that, give them enough credit for. So yeah, man. So when I started 21 Up Movement, the reason I started 21 Up Movement is because I tried to get into the youth industry, and because I got a criminal record from my teens, they said, "No, you got violence on your record. We're not going near you." I've got declined for 5 jobs, different areas of youth work industry. Yeah, so I'm thinking, all right, cool. Started the 21 Up Movement, built my own network, got my own resources, started my own funding through starting a brand. And yeah, man, it was literally, they told me I won't get in schools. They told me I won't get in councils. They told me no organizations work with me. Told me no to a seat at the table. I built my own seat, became my own organization, found my own resources, my own funding, my own everything. And that's the kind of energy I project onto young people. Don't ever let someone tell you you cannot achieve something. If you want to achieve it, go get it. Don't let nothing stop you. Obstacles are just obstacles. We climb them, we don't carry them.
I like that.
Brilliant, trust me. And you may notice, you see the logo in the background, but Perry showed them the swag. Look, showed him the t-shirt. He's not wearing the snapback today. He's had the hair done. Look at this.
Oh, love it.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm branded. So guys, you can already tell the energy is real on this podcast today. I'm so excited to have this different mix. So without further ado, let's just get straight into this subject because it's something that we've all got a lot to say about. We've had our conversations around it and it's something that we're all quite passionate about. So I'm just going to start. What is code switching and how do we use it in everyday situations?
Well, I thought a lot about this, and had conversations like outside of the group, what I probably initially thought it's not really that. But I think in short, it's kind of like just adapting language, tone, presentation, attire even, and behavior to fit into different environments. Or I could take out the to fit in with, because I think then, I know probably we'll get onto that. There's the conscious side of it and the unconscious side of it. But I think that kind of springs in mind. And for me, like work, friendships, family relations, all different kinds of relationships, you kind of find yourself not being a different person, but adapting those things to those environments.
And like you say, it can be conscious or unconscious.
Yeah.
So Perry, is there anything you'd like to add to that? What do you think code switching is? And
100%.
how do we use it in
Completely
everyday
agree with you.
situations?
It's one of them ones. It's something we do like when we're doing it subconscious. I think when we're doing it like unconsciously, yeah, we're doing it to survive. We're doing it because we feel we need to. We're doing it because we fear in losing our jobs. We fear in not fitting in, to be classed as an outcast, an outsider. That's when we're doing it unconsciously. When we're doing it consciously, we know exactly what we're doing, and we're doing it in order to elevate. We're doing it in order to win over the right people. We're doing it for the promotion. We're doing it, I don't know, for the other half's parents, so they can know that their daughter, their loved one is with someone good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's mad. You do it with your own parents. You do it with your in-laws. You do it with your teachers. You do it with your friends, to your relatives, to your neighbors. You talk to everyone different. But when you know what you're doing, it's a game changer, because you could do it comfortably. It's like talking another language.
Yeah.
It's the skill to know how to do it properly. You know, like that.
Yeah. And that's
when
where
you're aware of it as well. Because I don't think you're always aware of it. I think there comes a point in life, or as an adult, I don't know, where you become more aware of it. And so then you know then to do those things. Yeah.
And code switching is something we all do. So you've mentioned, Perry mentioned, different way you would talk to friends. So I think if I was to answer the phone to you, Jay, it'd be pretty much, you're right, babe, how are you? Do you know what I mean? Or, and like Perry, it would be like, yo, what, go on, what's good? I have to change it up when I speak to young people
or something. Oh, hi, how are you doing? You okay? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about code switching in everyday situations. The telephone voice. We all do it.
Yes. Yeah.
I was in the car with my friend the other day, and I don't even know if she was aware that she did it, but she received a call when it was like somebody formal, and she immediately changed the way she started speaking. And I found it absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And she's come off the phone. She said, like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, do you realize that you literally just changed your voice? And she wasn't aware of it, but we do it every day. So maybe if we're having small talk with the neighbors, we might talk a certain way. If I'm talking to young people, I notice that I may use more slang. All of those type of things. So I think people like actors code switch for a living. They're constantly
they're paid to do that.
Code switching.
And to work on it as well.
It's one of them ones, like sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
So like it's one of them ones. I co-hosted an event in the 6-week holidays, and we done a panel where like we did like a music event, and then we did a panel where we were sitting on this, was like 6 people were sitting on the stage, and I was one of them. And then it was mad because it was kind of like I was explaining code switching, but I didn't say it like that. It was when you told me about code switching, that's when I realized all of this time I'd been doing this stuff, but then there was actually a name for it. I usually say, when you switch your vocabulary in different environments, or you change your body language to fit certain scenarios. Yeah. When I was there now, I was just like, boom. Sometimes you just got to wear different hats, so you just got to play different characters.
Yeah,
you got your neighbor character, you got your
all of that
character, like different characters that, but just all one character, and you forget who you are. Like some days you forget, who am I today?
And that's why sometimes we're really not aware that we're doing it. Another way that people code switch is the traditional like meaning of code switching. How it used to be was, the changing of language in a conversation. So people are bilingual, so. My mum speaks patois, which is not a language, but, it's a dialect. And she would often switch from patois to English in the same thing. But that's what code switching used to be about. But, in the field of neurolinguistics, it's a bit different now. People understand code switching to be a lot more than just languages. It's about the way we adjust our speech, our mannerisms, our appearances. And it's usually underrepresented groups that are doing a lot of the code switching in order to fit in. So that is kind of like the type of code switching we're talking about today. And it's what you lot have described in all of those situations. So I wouldn't expect, you to talk to your friends the same way you would your work colleagues. Or like Perry, we made a joke of it the other day, like guys do it a lot when they're talking to girls. They might not be aware, but they change the way they speak.
Yeah. It's funny, me and my friend, we found this meme one time, and it was like the guy is like, it was funny. It's like, when you put on your R&B voice, when you talk to a girl for the first time. And yo, what's going on, babe? We
Yeah, we
say
say
that. And in that video, your voice is like completely different. Like,
yeah.
or
So
that first, that first voice note. Yeah.
you're trying to be smooth.
And listen, I know you girls do it as well, man. Don't ever try it. I've done it before just for burns. I've done it like just to see the reaction.
But you get it now. So I hope the people listening at home are kind of aware of how we all code switch.
Yeah.
Because we do. You wouldn't go to an interview and high five the person. You probably would shake their hand, but you may spar doors or high five your friend. But it's more than just language. So it's the way we change depending on the situation. And I think we all do it. So just moving on quickly, do you think we're aware that we're doing it? You guys have already kind of touched on that.
I feel like because I understand it, I'm speaking personal, because I understand it and then I do, I'm more aware of it now. So will do it intentionally sometimes because I know that's exactly what I'm doing. It reminds me of a thing, just for example, as a secretary, I've climbed my way up a little bit, so I'm at managerial level, but there was a time when I was really fighting to get up there. And I was going for these interviews and I wasn't getting the jobs and like within the organization I was. And I had a really good relationship with the director. And she said to me, like, Jay, like, I'm hearing that you're going for them. I'm expecting you to get them. What do you think it is? And do you think there's anything that you can change? And I felt that there was just like a click, of at the manager. They just weren't giving me the post. So I was okay to, when someone was on holiday, to do the job for a couple of weeks at a time or step up and take on more responsibility, but I wasn't getting the title. And it was really frustrating and disheartening in that. But when I had this conversation with her and she's like, what do you think you can do? See, like, I've got this thing, like, wherever I go, any room I step in as me.
100%.
And then how I speak to people as well, like, I'm always going to be respectful. And even if you're not respectful, I'm still going to, So she said to me, she said, look, we're sitting there having a conversation. And she said, Jay, like, she said, I remember when you came in there, I was there for 7 years, you came in the interview and I remember your passion. You spoke about life story, work and what you work for children. I knew. And she said, I know your work. I've seen your work. So, and she said to me, but no one else, like, so if a manager comes in the room, I'm still going to be doing what Jay does, like, I'm not standing to attention, I'm not changing the tone of my voice and whatever. And I've consciously done that. Like, I'm refusing to code switch. Like, you're just a person just like me. And she said, you know what, I'll tell you one thing. She said, no one would sit in a room with me how you are. So I was sat on a chair, like she was sat on a chair, like to the table. And I was kind of like, my hand over and my foot to there.
Comfortable.
Those little things, if those little things that people look at, and did you understand what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, like, it made me think about it a little bit more. So my intentionally trying not to code switch was kind of holding me back to some level. So I could still be me if I sat on the chair straight and looked the person straight in the eye. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So I get that. Very, as great examples as well. So I'm pretty much the same. I'd like to think that any room that I walk in as me.
Stepping as me, yeah.
Yeah, but I've actually, when I thought about the podcast, I thought I do think I do. I even asked my friends, do I sound like me on the podcast? And they said, well, you sound like you, Lee, but you kind of use bigger words sometimes. So that is not even something that I was even aware of.
Yeah.
So now I'm speaking to you, Jay. Obviously, you're a good friend of mine. Like, it just feels entirely comfortable. So I don't know. This is me, how I normally speak.
No, it is.
Yeah.
And this is how we talk as well. We have these deep conversations about different things, especially this. So, yeah.
Harry, are we aware that we're doing it?
I completely get what you mean. It's like sometimes, it's like sometimes words ain't even necessary. Sometimes when you switch up your body language, because body language says a lot about you as well. Because I don't know, I was reading some book on alpha males. I think it was alpha males, and dominance can come from your body language in a seating position. So if you're seated like this, it can show like you're, I don't know, it can show a lack of confidence. It's a crazy one. But then when you are stretched out, and you're comfy, it can show like you're taking, and you know, like when people speak and they move their arms and they take up a wide space, that obviously shows shows a lot of confidence and power, etc. But yeah, like I feel like what it is sometimes I feel like it's down to knowledge.
Yeah.
Because you can walk in a room, yeah, and you can be yourself, yeah, in so many different forms. I can walk in a room and be like, "Oh, hi, my name's Perry Blake." Or I come in and, "Yo, what's going on? Yeah. I'm here for that. Da, 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 da." It don't matter. My values are still the same. My principles are still the same. I'm still me. It don't matter. But then sometimes it comes down to, okay, what have I come in this room for? What am I gonna gain? What am I gonna gain? How have I come into this room to add value to this organization or to this person? What do they need me for? My values are still gonna be the same, but sometimes I'll adapt to the type of person I feel that person needs. So if that person needs me to be a certain type of way, me personally, who I am is not going to change. But if I give that version of myself to that person, because I want that person to see me as an asset to them. Like, boom, this person can really add value to X, Y, Z. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And then boom, they might see me out one night and be like, "Oh my God, is that the same guy?" Like, but that don't matter because it's a switch of environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least then they know I'm smart enough to know when to switch it up and when not to switch it up. Do you know where I'm coming from? I feel like people in, I don't know how to put it, people in higher up positions, they can understand that. Do you know where I'm coming from? Yeah. But it's the same like when you get to that position, I feel like, you know, like people say, "Oh, when you get to a certain position in life, when you say you're an entrepreneur or you're a businessman or whatnot, and then you don't have to no longer wear a suit, you can go to a meeting in like a pair of jeans and a t-shirt." All right, cool. But at the start, you can't do that. You got that level of comfortability at the start. You can't. You got to get to the top to then just behave whatever level you want. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you earn the right. You earn the right to do that. Do you know what I'm coming from? The same way, like what you were saying about the manager and how you would treat the manager. Is that it's a famous saying. I treat the CEO with the same respect as I treat the general. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the same person. Everybody get painted with the same brush. I'm not gonna treat this guy and put him on a pedestal just because he's
the manager. Yeah. And I don't believe in a hierarchy of people. You may have a role that requires more responsibility, but I still believe that you have, you can speak to people with respect. And that's probably why I don't really buy into the thing about celebrities, the idea that, that they ignore people and do stuff like that because they're famous, like, all of that stuff, it kind of misses me. But I think when I thought about it myself, I think most of the time I'm not probably aware that I'm code switching, but I found that a particular situation that I find that I become aware of it is if vigilance is needed. So say if I'm in an environment where I might feel like I really stand out or I might be in danger potentially, the way I operate becomes consciously different. So, I might, not be as, cheeky or as feisty because I'm quite a feisty person. I might, hold back and think, no, now's not the time really to maybe cuss that person out or, do what I would normally do in that situation. So I think a lot of the time fear as well when people, so people being scared or being vigilant, just feeling, a bit on at ease in a situation can make you more aware of how you're communicating. But where do we learn to code switch, guys?
Man, I think it starts from your childhood. It starts from.
I thought you was gonna say it starts from when you're a picnic. You could have said it.
I could have said. But in the podcast, I'm not gonna say picnic. Like it gets kind of instilled. I don't know. Like my parents at Jamaica, when I go there, when you go to this one's house, don't do this or don't say that or forget that this happened or don't chat my business. You know, you're a kid like. You're a kid there trying to keep quiet, if you know what it's meant to say, you just don't. You get what I mean? I think like it's taught to you, and then experience as well. Kind of makes you change up things and do things differently. Like I was saying earlier, I feel like once you become more aware of it, which you don't probably. I'm thinking like adult maturity, and maybe it's not even an adult. I guess different people have different experiences, especially like children in care that I work with. Like they've got a different level of maturity and resilience. Not all of them, but some, because of what they've experienced. So then they'll become more aware of it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so.
And then they must have to do a lot of code switching in those environments.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's a lot of code switching in the care environment. But Perry, where do you think we learn to code switch?
You was just saying there, Jay. It's like it comes down. It does come down to childhood. Like I hear the term street smart used a lot. So therefore, with that being said, I feel like someone who's come from a foster care background is going to be a lot more street smart than someone that's come from a privileged background. If you've got someone that's from a privileged background and then someone that's from a foster care background, and you put them in the same environment together, one's going to be very aware of their environment and the other one's just going to be like, no mind their business. Someone come from.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, boom, that you get a group of guys set pace on the two people. Yeah, one of them's going to be like, do this, don't say this, don't say that. The other one's going to be like, why? We haven't done anything. Oh, it's nothing to worry about. It's two completely different state of minds. Do you know where I'm coming from? It comes down to experience, down to what you've been through. Sometimes you can experience something, and it can hit you in a type of way where you're thinking, okay, then if I ever come into contact with a scenario like this again, I'm going to do this different. I'm going to do that different. So that's how I'm coming from.
Yeah. So that's your conscious.
Sorry.
That's your conscious and that conscious.
But parent, that's the first thing that came to my mind. My first experience of code switching, when I actually thought about it, was watching my mum code switch, because how she spoke to us at home was not how she spoke to maybe outside people like the teachers. But I think, especially with Black children and children of color, I think it's kind of something that's kind of instilled into you. So I've mentioned on the Being Black and British podcast the idea of the proxy self, which most Black children have, which is, they're taught to be suspicious of white people and people in authority from a very young age. And I think that gets layered like with experiences as you go out there and have your own interactions. I think that becomes more compounded. So I don't think it necessarily starts off as a conscious process. How many times have you guys been told by probably many different people to speak proper English?
Yeah, speak properly. My mum was a killer for it. And she was like your mum in the house, whatever, but she had the best English speaking words. And I don't have the best English speaking words.
Proper English.
But you know what I mean? Like the proper pronouncing the T's and whatever. And I'll make a go of it, like I'll loosen up a little bit, obviously, when I'm talking to my friends or when it's wet. But I kind of like showing off as myself, like, and just being
your authentic self.
Yeah, like you got enough to take me, because what comes out of my mouth, and if I, stick it to work and that, and who I am, and that shines through, like, that's so much more.
And there's nothing wrong with the way you speak English. It's perfectly understandable, and I understood every single word.
That's why I have to clean. I don't have that,
But I genuinely used to believe that people that spoke proper English or were well spoken were actually more intelligent. That's what I grew up believing. I grew up, when people used to say I was intelligent, I used to be like, how can I be intelligent? I don't sound like those people. And one of the things that comes to mind is academia. I think the whole, if you think about GPs and teachers and, the way they teach you and the language that they use, especially doctors, GPs, big, long, fancy words for something that's very simple. How often do they speak in layman's? It's a way of them code switching, in order to have their own kind of society. Like, this is what we use. We use loads of big words. And what it tends to do is people that don't use big words, they feel like they can't understand something, so that's something to think about as well. But where else do you think we learn to code switch?
I think just a quick point before I forget, what you were just saying, I feel like when you were saying about intelligence and stuff like this, I feel like one thing that usually, I used to work in construction for quite a long time, and I'd see that people come on from different countries and they'd have to learn English in order for them to obviously get onto sites, and put it to work, basically, But then you'd get like an Asian man, and his name will be like, Freddie.
No, where you're going with it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing, one time I see see one guy, yeah, and he was just like, oh, hello, yes, my name's Patrick. I'm like, brother,
You know,
I'm like, what's your real name, man?
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, Patrick. I'm like, big man. I said, no way is a Patrick got accent like that, man. Come tell me your real name. What's your name back home? And then he told me his name back home. Yeah, I said, well, that's your name then, and
That's
that's
your name.
what I'm.
that's what I'm gonna call it. Yeah.
And it's like, he goes, how comes though? I was just like, because that's what you was named at birth. That's what people in your country call you. Don't think because you come to my country, yeah, you've got to change your name.
Yeah, and a lot of people do.
Like,
A lot
Yeah.
of people.
all the time. Yeah, these like foreign people, yeah, they come over, they change their name to Peter, and it's like, come on, man, your name ain't Peter. You say, yeah, but no one in your country knows how to pronounce my name. I was like, yeah, but that's a them problem, not your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like, don't
Learn.
keep correcting them. You keep correcting them.
Learn. And that's something I continuously do. I'm known for being really funny about people. My name is Leanna. Okay, very, very simple. Leeanna. My mum put a hyphen there just to emphasize it. And you'll be surprised the amount of people that to this day would still call me Leanne. So what I did in protest to that is I now just say my name is Lee.
Yeah.
So some people have known me for years and years. I don't even know that my name is Leanna. But if someone calls me Leanne, I will make a point of saying, no, my name is Leanna. I do it with doctors all the time. No.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing. Your name is your name. Why are you having to change such a fundamental part of your identity
Hey, for your
just to make someone else feel comfortable? I think that's
exactly. On the flip side, that's that
Exactly.
Jay's initial. Jay's not my fault. Proper name.
right.
I choose that.
Yeah.
Do you know? So yeah. Sorry, Perry, I spoke over you.
yeah. Okay. It's okay. Was you going to say something, Perry?
Yeah, but it's like I feel like coach. I like before people what code switching was called. I was like, I'm not going to podcast on a subject I have no idea about. And then literally I started researching.
This is
And I
all
realized what it was. I was
You
like,
just
oh my
become
God,
aware.
this stuff has a name, like.
It's got a name.
And I was
and-
like, okay, then, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. This is the topic I'm good with. You know, I was there. Like,
yeah.
once I realized it was called Codeswitch, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but how many times have I done this? Oh my God, it comes in
Yeah.
all shapes and
And that's the thing.
sizes,
We all
all
do it.
types of forms.
and we all do it,
We all
definitely.
do it for different
also-
reasons.
And do you know what it also reminds? I think there's a fine line between code switching and identity. So I
Mhm.
remember, like my generation, I remember being like, I've always been like my background, my parents are Jamaican and whatever. I've always been proud of that and said that I'm Jamaican. But I remember like being in school, Lee, and you might remember this as well. I don't know about you, Perry. Because I think this generation's a little bit different. My African friends were always trying to deny
Yeah.
that they were African. They would always shy
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
their, you know, and then it would be Tola and
Yeah. They were
whatever.
devoid of a surname. You never even heard the surname.
Yeah. So they weren't proud. Like, I feel like this generation's different. They're
Yeah.
much more proud to be who they
Definitely.
are and that. But I remember being that and switching, you know, oh, my dad's Jamaican. Okay. So then, but
Yeah.
that wasn't really the case.
Yeah.
Do you
It's like
understand what I mean?
they
So
were very, you know, very ashamed in some instances of being labeled as
Yeah.
African, which is what they are. Like it wasn't something that was acceptable. So I had
Yes,
friends that would have,
be
you know,
proud of it.
a Nigerian accent. I'd be like, their parents are Jamaican, but no, babes. What's wrong with being Nigerian? And equally,
Yeah.
you will remember this, Jay. If you said to a Jamaican person that you're from Africa, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
the outrage
Yeah.
that would cause. And to some degree, that still exists now.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that we're all from the continent of Africa, we were removed from our homeland. That's facts. But yeah, it's still that. No. I'm not African. I'm Jamaican. But you know,
Yeah.
it's-
My whole
that-
family thing.
yeah. So guys, who do you think code switches the most?
I think the people that know it, that are aware of it. And the ones who are so like disadvantaged groups and stuff, those ones that are forced to be different in different environments. So yeah.
Eric?
Yeah.
Who do you think
People
code
that know
switches
what
the
they're
most?
doing. The people that know that they're doing it,
Mhm.
because they know how much of a skill it is.
Yes.
If you're looking to get a new job, yes. If you're looking to get a new job, yeah, you know you've got to code switch to a certain degree in order to secure that position.
Yeah.
You can't go and start talking to directors the same way you talk to managers. You can't
Yeah.
talk to directors the same way you talk to CEOs, etc. You got to come with a different type of energy. you got to kind of level up before you've leveled up.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm
Yeah.
coming from?
And
You
I
got to
learned.
speak in a tone. You got to speak in a certain type of tone where people think, you know what? Yeah, this guy's equipped enough to speak on my level. Let's see what
Yeah.
else he can do. Do you know where I'm coming from? If you're coming like, yo, what's going on, man? Yeah, man, real
Yeah.
talk. They're gonna be like, yo,
It doesn't work. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
yeah.
And
And
I
the
think
same-
that's a lot happens with young people. Sorry to cut you, Jay. That happens a
Yeah,
lot with
no,
young
it does.
people. People immediately dismiss them because of the way they speak, when actually behind it is a very clever mind.
Yeah, definitely.
That, what's it called? Have you ever seen that couple of my friends? Yeah, it's funny, yeah, cause you hear them talking and you're thinking, oh yeah, nah, my man's on it. My man's this, my man's that. And then you hear one of their parents ring them, yeah, and they're like, oh yes, mama, yeah, and their whole energy changes. You kind of look at it. What you just say, bro? I never even spoke to people like that. You almost sound fearful.
Yeah.
Most things.
Like this.
You can be the baddest man ever, yeah, and then your mom sticks it on you, like, and all of a sudden, like, it's like you're a little boy again.
Yeah.
And I think
Definitely.
most people revert to, the childhood relationship when they're around their parents. It's funny how easy it would be for your mum to draw you out. It's a lot easier.
With a look. With a look.
It could just be something. My mum still gives me the look, and I still respond the way I did when I was 5. I'm not gonna cross that. But when I think about code switching, so you guys are right in the sense that people that are aware that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Back to what code switching is originally designed for, it's a lot of the underrepresented groups. So it's not just Black people. We're talking women, potentially LGBTQ people. So anywhere where there's difference, I would expect there to be a certain amount of code switching to fit in. So if you think of certain work environments, you mentioned construction earlier, Perry, and my sister, she's a painter, decorator, and she spent a lot of time working on sites and working one-on-one. And it's a very firstly, male-dominated industry, and secondly, very white industry. So her being a Black female, she would come, I don't even know if she was aware of the effect it was having, but she would come back and I'd, speak to her and say, how was your day, sis? And she would literally just tell me tales of all of the, racist, blatantly racist jokes or things that were being said, the sexist things, the homophobic things, and, the whole, oh, but I don't mean you. So that used to happen a lot when I was a kid. So Jay, you will remember things like that, where white people would openly be racist and then say to you, I don't mean you, or I'm not thinking about you, you're all right.
You're my friend. So I don't mean you.
Yeah, so it's kind of all that. So I think anywhere where, you're trying to fit in, I would expect there to be more code switching. So would I expect white males to code switch? Maybe a little bit, just in the way that we all do. But would I expect them to change much about them in a work environment per se? Not necessarily. So what are the pros of code switching, do you think, guys? Because obviously there has to be pros to it. I mean, we all do it, so there's got to be a reason why, a good reason why.
So now I guess going back to the being aware of it and knowing the value, like what Perry was saying, knowing the value and what it's going to get you. You step in that room and you know what you want to achieve, what you've come for, and what you might need to adapt to. So yeah, those are the pros when you make it work for you, when you're conscious of it. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. Perry? And good point, Jay. Perry, do you think there were any pros to code switching?
I feel like, 100%. Yeah, I feel like you can definitely benefit from it because it's the way, sometimes it's the way you're perceived in different environments. Say you're in a working environment, you want your colleagues and your superiors to see you as an asset. You don't want them to see you as someone who's just like some roadman, talks a certain type of way. Oh yeah, now he can't articulate a sentence properly. We ain't gonna put him in the boardroom meeting. They might see you at the staff do it and be like, oh, geez, never knew that you had that. So that's why sometimes people gotta be careful how they behave on a staff do.
Yeah.
Because
the staff parties and stuff, innit?
Yeah, the start, them Christmas parties. Everyone gets a bit
exactly.
wild,
I usually avoid them.
Yeah, for good reason.
I'm like,
you might not be able to undo some of the things that get done. Yeah, there'll be no code switching on that occasion. I'm telling you just as it is. But things like building rapport. So just on a basic level, code switching is an excellent way to build rapport. So even if I'm speaking with someone and I maybe copy some of their mannerisms, or if I mirror their tone, or use some of the words that they use, it's very good at building rapport. So like I say, if I was talking to a room full of 21-year-olds or 18-year-olds, I wouldn't necessarily speak the same way if I was talking to a room of 60-year-olds.
Yes.
So it's being able to build that rapport. So I might kind of try and show that I'm a little down with the young ones and get it wrong. I said the word fam the other day, and my friend said, "Do not let me ever hear you say that ever again."
But
I was like, what? So what? I'm over 40. I can't use the word fam. What? I can't say fam.
I'll be using that when I'm fit. And Perry, you must do that a lot as well in your work.
100%. Listen, man, I'm down with all the lingo, man.
Yeah.
If I don't know the lingo, yeah, from one person, just know I'm taking that word, that phrase, and I'm taking it to another person saying, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
They'll never ever know that I don't know, innit? Because
Yeah.
I'll never ever say, what does that mean? I'll ask someone else, what's this mean? Like, and they'll be like, oh, that means I be so real. I'll be like, why don't they just say I be so real? I come, man, like millennials, innit? Gen Z, man, come on, man, just
Emojis.
abbreviate everything.
Emojis.
And Urban Dictionary
You
and
got- you
whatever.
got-
I remember.
You got to know what these words mean. Listen,
I remember writing reports and that, because I do know quite a lot of them anyway. But obviously, every now and then there's one that slips up in it and you don't know. But I remember writing like my social work reports. So, I'm working with this young person and they said this, which means
you're having to translate, isn't it?
I'm adding myself and I could be like translating. I'd be like translator.
Yeah.
This means,
Have you ever seen like a Jamaican program with like a Jamaican person speaking and you see the subtitles come up?
Yeah. And I've been, I know what I can understand.
What's that to understand? No, I mean,
Yeah.
you're laughing. I see you laughing there. So there are some pros, and I think
there is making it work
to avoid negative stereotypes as well.
Yeah.
Some of the negative stereotypes that are often thrown at Black people are being lazy, being loud. We know of Black women being angry, strong Black women. So it's trying to avoid the negative stereotypes. So in order to avoid maybe some microaggressions, a Black woman might, be more conscious of the tone of her voice, or maybe the level of her voice. And that another good reason for code switching, and this saved me on numerous occasions. There must be times at work, especially if you work with the public, where the need to cuss somebody out, and code switching has literally saved my job on many occasions. So in some instances, it can be good.
Yeah.
You can code switch. So, maybe that rude customer would be like, I'm terribly sorry, but, the company's policy is that, you have to speak to the staff in a respectful way. So I might find that you're not quite doing that at this time, rather than telling them what I potentially really want to tell them. So
all about themselves.
So code switching does have some pros, and we do it. And, a lot of the time we may use it to, fit in and be seen as less of a threat. That's a common.
As well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's affecting yourself.
Yeah. It makes you seem like you're less low culture. So if you might code switch and use bigger words. I've seen instances of people using big words in context that it don't even go in.
And it doesn't even fit in, and you're like,
It's for the sake of using big words. And I just want to pray for them and just be like, feel so. But there are some pros to code switching. So it does help with career advancement. Go ahead, Perry.
Another thing I was thinking when you were saying in a work environment with angry customers, I read a book from Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you just, I feel like code switching comes into that a lot, because you have to become a different person to allow that person to be themselves. When you allow that angry customer to be angry and be annoyed, and you just listen, validate them, I understand where you're coming from. I'd be so annoyed as well. You're validating it for them. You're not arguing. You're not, because no one can win an argument. This is what you have to understand. Because even if you know you're right, what have you, after proving that you're right, what have you gained?
Yeah,
nothing.
you might lose the person.
You understand where I'm coming from? So sometimes just letting someone be right or think they're right, or just, so how did you come up with that? It just, I don't know, it adds, it's a better way to have things done, go positively in your favor. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because with that angry customer, that person's going to leave a happy customer just having that rant. Do you know where I'm coming from? Just like having that rant, being understood. It's like, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It really is.
And that's a very
Because
good
it's
point.
easy. It's easy to argue.
Very easy to
Yeah,
argue.
it is. It is.
But that comes
It
from
is.
a place of ego. I feel like everyone,
Oh, yeah,
just
100%.
wanting to be right. So, like you say, you can win the argument and lose the person. So, who won?
Exactly.
You both
100%. Well, I
lost.
see it's a skill. Again, it's a skill. All of these different things that we're discussing here, they are all skills. Code switching is a skill. Being able to know that in a situation like that, you can still win. Like you can let someone talk about themselves for a whole hour before you've even pitched to them. And then you give them a pitch 2-3 minutes and that you've won them already because you've let them express their own passions. Do you know what I'm saying? You can be talking about something that's, I've sat in meetings before, yeah, thinking, right, how am I going to get this person to give me this contract? How am I going to do this, yeah? And I've seen a picture on the wall and I've started to talk about it. Oh my God, no way. My auntie's got one of those completely random
You win them
conversations.
over.
You know, for the whole meeting, we was talking about the picture, the heritage of the picture, how the picture relates to the person. Boom, the person wasn't.
Brilliant.
I'm coming from.
Good.
Definitely.
Some good answers come out there. So, it's important to note that there are pros to code switching. There are two sides to most things, So
Yeah.
I kind of had this conversation with one of my little sisters, and I posed a question to her. I said to her, "Why do people need to wear a suit to answer a phone?" So it made me think about this question, because I think a lot of people have said to me, "But ain't code switching just being professional? It's just what you do at work. It's just a way of being professional." So I'll ask you guys, is code switching at work simply just being professional? Or is there more to it than that?
I think there's more to it. It can be just simply being professional. But it can also just be something trying to fit in. And I think if you're trying to fit in and then you're not being your true self, your authentic self, then let's say, then it can be a negative. I can't remember to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. What do you think, Mary?
What do you think, Perry?
I'll be real. If that's the case, then I'm a con man. So real, because there's certain environments I do need to code switch. Like I can't sit in the council and talk a certain type of way and then go on road, go to an event or go speak the same way in my youth club. People will be like,
yeah,
why are we gonna listen to this idiot? Do you understand where I'm coming from? You gotta switch it up. You have to switch up. I had one, like when I first started doing the work that I do, yeah, I was chatting with these young people, They was watching me on social media, yeah. And they're like, right, like this guy's with the council now, with the council leader, and like he's all there taking pictures and that. Next time I see them, yeah, like, yo, where you going? Like, they're like, yeah, over here, like going to go to this one shop. I'm like, wow, what you get? What you get? Like, well, I'm gonna buy some vapes to sell some vapes. I'm like, yeah. I was like, what, you and your 14-year-old self here? I said, where's the shop? No, I ain't talking to you, bro. You're like, you're a member of the council. That's what he said to me. You're a member of the council. I said, wow. I said, don't ever insult me like that again, man. And he was like, I don't even, he goes, I don't even know who you are. He's like, I don't even know who you are. He goes, are you a rapper? He goes, are you a youth worker? He goes, are you a politician? He goes, I don't even know anymore. Can you be trusted?
Wow.
I was like, skillful in it. I said, you don't even know who I am.
Just change it up on him.
But yeah, I think it is a skill. To be able to do that, it is a skill.
But I think there is a lot
can see all of them.
I think there is a lot more to it, because even in the question, because I noticed that, Jay, you said, yeah, a certain amount of it is being professional. And I would say that we should possibly change that word professional and start working with the word appropriate, because what I would suggest to you is that possibly you cannot have a discussion about code switching without having a discussion about systemic racism. So the first thing I would say is, who actually defined what is professional? Yeah. Used to say that, why do I have to wear a suit to wear a phone? Why can't I wear my traditional clothes? Why can I not wear the afro that naturally grows out of my head? Who deems that professional or unprofessional? You know? So I don't think you can have a conversation about code switching without looking at who defines professional even, I would suggest it's patriarchal, very heteronormative. So a lot of the things that we assume and take for granted, so we're just being professional, are things that we may have unconsciously assumed.
Yeah.
I would suggest being professional. I would agree. Maybe turning up on time would be something that's professional and generic, but I don't necessarily think.
Let's be on time. When it's
Yeah.
maybe, as you know, they talk about, ethnic timescales and timekeeping and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think professional should.
I'm going to be on time. This is work.
Should professional mean that you have to change the way that you speak?
Yeah.
So I would suggest that, like I said, things about like being on time are essential for organizations to be able to run and turning up when you're supposed to. Those are things that I would deem professional. But some of the things that we've assumed underneath that professional umbrella, actually, I think takes away from the diversity of people. So,
some things.
I've read an example here, and I'm just going to read this a little bit. A British Indian woman from London who was told she was overlooked for a job because the company didn't want front-facing staff wearing funny clothes. And she said that she never reported a racist incident because she was afraid she would lose her job. So just looking at things like that, little things like that. So you might not say traditional clothes, you might not outrightly say your traditional clothes are, but things like funny clothes or, what's that?
Yeah, it's just
That's funny to them because it's a different culture.
Because it's not the same as them. Yeah, you're right. Exactly that. It's
because it's not them. Because it's not them. Like the way they were grown, they grew up, and it's not their culture. That you could. This is one thing I've realized. Yeah, is that I used to work with some people. Yeah, and then when they'd hear foreigners talking broken English, they would laugh and they would mock them. Look, you come over and you're doing this and you can't even speak proper English. How do you even get onto this site? And it's just, I used to say to them, listen, I said, if you was to go to this guy's country, yeah, I said, you're not gonna feel comfortable no more. I said, because that's gonna be their culture, their language. I said, you're not gonna understand a thing. I said, this guy's talking broken English. I said, he can understand what we're saying. I said, we go to his country now, and we're outcasts. We're out. Everybody's gonna be different. We're going to be the ones dressed funny. Do you understand? We're going to be the ones that don't understand nothing. We've got that.
And accents, are very funny things because we hear an accent when someone is speaking our language. He actually doesn't have an accent.
Even that, you can post it. Then that's true. And how's that person any less than you? That person understands two languages.
Yeah, so you're doing better than me. You're already doing better than me.
Do you get what I'm saying? I can't speak another language. And like, they speak too. So whether it's breaking English, you've got to have it in your mind. So
some of them can speak free, and English is their third language. And the only reason they speak English is because they wanted to come to England to work, to send money back home. They come here, live on their own. Yeah, boom. Some of them live like 5-6 man deep in a 1-bedroom flat. But they come over here, they make their bread, they send their money home, they stay here for 10 years, and then they go home, build a mansion, and live life.
Exactly. There's no single story.
Yeah, and you've seen the typical experience of like an English person maybe being in Spain and not speaking the language, but instead of trying to learn, maybe doing things like speaking slower and louder, that's suddenly,
come on,
let's do that.
So loud, I'm not there. It's that kind of thing.
Like one thing I wanted to quickly touch on what you were saying a minute ago about professional. I feel like the authenticity came out when COVID hit. And people had to start having boardroom meetings, at home, in front of on Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And then the amount of people I knew, that put on a shirt and tie and had their pants on.
This is like 5%, or, us ladies forgetting to take off the bonnet.
I still do it.
I wouldn't even let you know what I've got at the bottom. I'm dressed at the top.
Same.
And there is a more insidious side. So fun and joke aside, guys, there is a more insidious side. So I was looking at some stats. More than 120,000 ethnic minority people have quit their jobs due to racism. More than 1 in 4, so that's like more than 25%, have faced racist jokes in the last 5 years. So more than 2 in 5 Black and ethnic workers said that they face racism at work. And interestingly, 57% of employees witness discrimination or lack of inclusivity in their workplace. So,
we know what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, so
it's just kind of put a seal on it, but
there is something going on. So while we're, code switching, maybe to a certain degree to be professional, maybe to be seen as more highly educated, maybe to enhance those job opportunities. I think there's a danger that we may be code switching to avoid discrimination.